Home of the prodigal son, young Chad Townsend. And Chad Townsend plays on, plays to the whistle, kicks away for Valentine home. Townsend, brilliant.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Chad Townsend Show. If you're new here, please make sure you do subscribe. It is greatly appreciated. Like this video, give us a rate and review if you're listening over on the audio platforms. It really does make a big difference. So just going to wait for you to do that right now. Thank you very much to everyone who supports the content. And as always, today we are here thanks to our good friends at BearBet. Head over to the App Store, download BearBet today. The link is actually in the description here on YouTube. So you've got all your best odds in sport. You got fast payouts, good Aussie service, all thanks to BearBet. Please make sure you do gamble responsibly. Now, we've got a big show for you today. On today's show, we've got our Brisbane Broncos 2025 season review. Obviously, the 2025 Premiers. A lot to talk about. Some huge performances from the Broncos across the season. We've got our What's Trending. Plenty happening in the game at the moment. Obviously, West Tigers, what's actually doing there? I'm not actually sure what's doing. Keen to talk about that. We've got a few other things. Kalon Watangi in a helicopter. A little bit on Tom Dearden as well. We're really keen to get into all of that after our Broncos review. But before we jump into that, I will bring him in again. He's here today with us. Victor, how are you this morning?
Good, mate. Covered from last week. And now we're back. Had a good weekend. Australia smoked England in the Ashes.
Yes.
And it was good.
Yes, I actually missed you last week. He was unavailable for selection last week. Grade 3 heat stroke, I think it was. I don't know, the younger generation these days, they don't drink water, they don't hydrate. No sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
No sunscreen?
No, there was no sunscreen put on that day.
It's a good Aussie summer, mate. Need to put sunscreen on.
It was hot.
But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, we got the job done. We still delivered a podcast, and off we go. We've got a big show today, don't we?
We do. The Premiers.
Brisbane Broncos 2025 season review. We may as well get straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. Look, let's have a look at their 2025 season. The 2025 NRL Premiers. Like, what an amazing season for the Brisbane Broncos. And this was a season where it was completely wide open. I don't think anyone was ever really confident that their team was going to win because they just weren't sure. And obviously the Panthers had just won the previous 4 competitions. There was a lot of talk around, the Panthers can go again. They can win it from outside the 4. Anyway, the Broncos went on and did it from 4th position. And their season wasn't all smooth sailing. Once you sort of get into it, they finished, however, the regular season in 4th position. As I mentioned, they went away and played that first week of the finals away down in Canberra, which was an amazing game. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But a snapshot at their season, and all these stats are in the regular season. So they had 15 wins and 9 losses. They had 680 points for, which gave them the best attack in the competition. You look at some of their attacking weapons across their team, and it's absolutely insane the amount of points that you can feel come out of this side. 28 points per game, so on average. So they rock up, score 28 points per game. Their defense, 508 points against. They had the 5th best defense in the comp. So, not a highly ranked defensive team. I mean, usually they say the best or the premiers come from the top 4 ranked defensive sides, and obviously they just sit outside that position. They had a home record of 9 wins and 3 losses, and surprisingly, an away record of 6-6. So we all know that the Broncos usually get looked after with the NRL draw, which they kind of have again in 2026, and we spoke about that on the podcast, and some Broncos fans weren't too happy about some of our comments, but we play on. 6-6 on the away, so not a great away side, but obviously that home record is phenomenal. And, Suncorp Stadium is just an amazing place to play. Their fans rock up every single time. They get minimum 30,000 per game, so it's a really great atmosphere, and they obviously really enjoy playing there. They finished the regular season 4-1, and their form at the back end of the year was absolutely phenomenal. We'll touch more on that as we roll on. But the keys to Brisbane in 2025, for me, when it started off, obviously with the appointment of Michael Maguire, and then there was a lot of talk around Michael Maguire's first season in charge of the Broncos, how hard Michael Maguire trains his teams, how much he flogs them. And then there was some comments in and around, the Broncos preseason and how hard it was throughout, I guess, the start of the season, midway through the season. And obviously there was none of it towards the end of the season when they were winning and playing really well. But that's the keys. That's the key to victory. Like, you've got to actually earn it. You have to rock up and you have to go through, sheer pain to sacrifice and just work as hard as you can to win an NRL Premiership. And I think the Broncos and Michael Maguire really set that up. And that was then interesting to hear, some of the players' press conferences at the start of the season when they were all talking about the preseason, how hard it was. And usually when you hear multiple players saying the same thing over the course of multiple press conferences, like I like to watch press conferences and listen. And if I hear like players saying the same things, that's usually like a theme to me that's like kind of getting across for certain teams. So that was one of the key things obviously everyone heard was just, how hard the training's been. And I thought that was something that really set them up for the season. You're nodding your head there, Victor. I mean, did you anything to add there on Michael Maguire as a fan when you hear about how hard some teams are training?
Yeah, no, like obviously that whole kind of situation at the start of the season with Elijah Taylor and his kind of insight that he gave on Michael Maguire caused a bit of a stir. But it just goes to show, like at the end of the season, they won the comp.
Yeah.
And I think it was the type of team that needed someone like Michael Maguire.
Yep. That's a fair comment. Yep.
And kind of lay down a pretty hard iron fist. And it worked,
Yeah, that's a fair comment. And we were lucky enough to speak with Marty Tapa'u about, that incident with Elijah Taylor and liking the post and then obviously being released. And Marty was really great to us with his time and his story around that, and that obviously plays a part of the Brisbane season this year. But I really agree with you in the fact that I think this playing group needed someone like that. And obviously, Gordon Tallis wasn't too happy about the signing. He was obviously pretty staunch supporter of Kevy Walters. And, I'm probably myself thought Kevy was a little hard done by with that situation, when he got the sack from the Broncos and they brought in Maguire. But ultimately it turned out to be probably the best decision that the club has made for a long time.
And you look at like back into the season, how fit they were in those championship rounds.
Big time.
Like, they were just fitter than any team.
Big time. Especially those two finals games, which I'll touch on a bit more as we move on throughout the season. But they were fitter than any other team at that stage of the year, and that was a real key factor, which ultimately led them to win the Premiership in 2025. Let's move on to some of their individuals who contributed at an absolute high level this season. I'm going to start with this man. What a season Gamut Shibasaki had. Like, wow. Like, moves down to Brisbane on a train and trial contract, makes his Broncos debut in round one after just training the house down, getting fit. You hear from Shibasaki at the start of this season, he himself said he wasn't fit. He had to train hard. He had to push himself because ultimately it was like it was his last chance to play NRL. So if like this is your last opportunity, you're on a train and trial contract, you need to give it absolutely everything you've got. And to hear that someone has actually done that, like, wow, man, I was absolutely blown away by his season. Like I said, the train and trial contract, made his Broncos debut in round one, scored 2 tries, went on to make his Queensland Origin debut, win the Origin series with Queensland, played in the Ashes, made his Australian Kangaroos debut. He was the highest try scorer for the Broncos with 18 tries in 2025. And now he's off contract at the end of 26. And he's able to now probably go from that train and trial deal and then the match payments, which probably got him to around maybe 120K. So let's just say just his Broncos earnings this year in 25 would have been 120K. But he's contributed at probably like a 600K level. And that's what you need when you win the comp. You need guys to play like above their weight, where you've got guys in the salary cap at certain positions. If they play like double their worth, like that's how you win a comp. Like, it's absolutely necessary, and Gamut Shibasaki's provided that. He's obviously, going to earn his money, or would have earned his money from Queensland Origin. Obviously, they get 30K per game. Obviously, the Australian payments have gone back down a lot, so he wouldn't have earned massive money there. But obviously, just he will in his next contract, and maybe even he would have had a Broncos, bonus in there. So let's just say, obviously, 120 plus the 90 from Origin. There's 210 and plus. Let's just say he had a 30K Broncos bonus for playing for Australia. So there's 240. Let's just say he played the whole thing, Broncos and representative, on 240. Even at that level, like the Broncos are only in there at 120 in the cap, plus the bonus. So look, absolutely an amazing achievement from Gamet Shibasaki. I've spent a little bit of time with Gamet at the Cowboys. I played with him in 2023. And look, I'm just very proud of him, the effort he's put in, and really excited to see, ultimately where he's able to sign and secure his long-term future. I really hope he gets what he wants. I'd love to see him stay at the Broncos just because he's made a real fist of it there now at the moment, and a real home in the centres there. And we'll see how... Anything to add on Gamet from your point of view there, Victor, before we move on?
I think, defensively, it was how impressed I was by him. Especially in Origin, he had to come up against, what was it? I think it was, he had Critter on his edge.
Yep.
And there was so many question marks around that, and, how risky it was to bring in someone who no one knew, I guess, like the year before. So I think it's just a testament to how hard he's worked, and I hope he can continue it next season.
Yep, couldn't agree more with you. I think that's a great shout. All right, let's move on to one of our next standouts in 2025, and it's obviously the man of the moment, Reece Walsh. What a season. I mean, especially the back end, the finish to the season. And to me, it was probably the injuries to Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds when they played down in Melbourne it really set him up for a huge finish for Reece Walsh. Really just allowed him to take a lot more responsibility, a lot more touches of the ball, more kicking, more involvement, and obviously his stats and contribution just went through the roof. And obviously, when someone like Reece Walsh who just doesn't lack confidence and just goes after the game, and he was absolutely incredible in 2025. I'm a massive fan of Reece Walsh and what he does on the field. He finished with 14 tries, 26 try assists, 10 line breaks. He had 864 receipts, so 864 touches of the ball over the course of the season. That's more than 100. That's 100 more than any other season he's had in the NRL. So obviously touching the ball, having more influence on the game than any other season. His average run meters was 148 per game. Obviously won the Clive Churchill and the huge moments in the grand final where, he scored that try up through the teeth of the Melbourne Storm under the sticks, and that try assist as well for Gamet Shibasaki where, he basically was just in everything, went from sideline to sideline, which was crazy. And there was a long time for Reece Walsh throughout the season when he was criticised about being rocks or diamonds, and obviously the amount of errors sometimes that he would sort of have throughout games or under the high ball or lack of concentration. And that's the thing with Reece Walsh, he's probably the most marketable guy in the NRL. He's probably got the most eyeballs on him in the NRL. His social media following is probably, I don't know the numbers, but it's maybe close to being more than the Brisbane Broncos. Maybe in the next couple of years. This is a guy who has massive influence, and obviously the kids, the younger generation, absolutely love the marketable guys, the younger guys, and the Reece Walsh fits in that category. Not only is he crazy, his play on the field, but obviously, very, very marketable off the field as well. Did you check the following? Anything there, Victor?
Yeah, he's got 10K more than the Brisbane Broncos.
So the Broncos have 643,000. And Reece Walsh has 664,000. That's crazy, man.
Bigger than the club.
That's crazy, man. Good on him, man. Good on him. But that's what I mean. Obviously, the influence, if you post or say something, you've got 664,000 followers in the NRL. That'd be the most in the competition, I reckon. That's probably more than Nathan Cleary.
KP.
Ponga, I reckon that's more than both of them for sure. Yeah, we'll get Victor to fact check that.
Yeah. Far out.
Yeah, Ponga only 373,000. I think Nathan would have maybe 400, maybe 471. There you go. So
that's crazy.
Man, Reece Walsh has like over 200,000 more than his second placed person. But yeah, obviously fantastic season for Walshy. Obviously played the house down all year. Obviously finished off with the Ashes as well. Getting selected in front of Dylan Edwards, was a big achievement for him. And I'm happy they went with the hot hand because I really felt like he deserved that spot at the fullback position. Let's move on to the next superstar of 2025 for the Brisbane Broncos. And there's plenty to choose from, but we've gone with Katoni Staggs. 24 games, 12 tries, 26 line breaks for Staggs. Like absolutely crazy. Like 26 line breaks in 24 games. Like, man, this is absolutely crazy. 138 average run meters. He had a phenomenal season. And I think with Staggs, we're seeing a lot more mature consistency from Staggs now. Like, I feel he's really developed into a leader in the Brisbane Broncos team. He's been around for a long time now and really just settling in and playing the best football of his career. And I think he had a great combination with Adam Reynolds, in 2025. He's very good at calling for a flat kick when he'll push up in the line, almost point his arm to the ground, and Reynolds would put a grubber on the ground, and they have a great connection on that. But yeah, just the 20 odd line breaks, which was 26 line breaks, which is absolutely crazy. Another key contributor for the Broncos in 2025, Payne Haas, the Payne train, man. This guy has probably already had a Hall of Fame career at 25 years old. He's 25 years old. I'm pretty sure, Victor, can you just check how many Player of the Years he's won for the Brisbane Broncos? Because I think it may be like 6 in a row. Maybe Broncos Player of the Year 6 years in a row. I would just fact checking that. But Payne Haas, 24 games, 130 tackle breaks. So averaging 5 tackle breaks per game. 98% tackle efficiency. I mean, this is someone we recognize as just an absolute dominant ball carrier and just breaking tackles at will and carrying the ball for an average of 166 meters per game. He had 70 offloads as well. But this man has 98% tackle efficiency. Like, not many people really give him the credit for that, and I feel like that's worth a shout. Victor, anything on the
Yeah, he's won 5 of the last 6.
5 of the last 6 Paul Morgan medals has been won by Payne Haas.
That's crazy.
And Pat Carrigan won in 2024. So, man, that is absolutely crazy. There's a lot of other guys who that reminds me of. Like, I know Gowser had a big run. Jason Taumalalo's got a big run of Player of the Year. James Tedesco's won 7 of the last 8 at the Roosters. There is some crazy streaks of award winners at club level. And Payne Haas, yeah, like I said, a phenomenal athlete, has done it on all levels, does it consistently week in, week out without fuss. And, obviously a key contributor for the New South Wales Blues. Obviously made his decision to defect to Samoa at the end of the year, which was disappointing for us as Australia. We would have loved to have seen him, especially playing for Australia in the World Cup next year. But look, we'd love to see players going and playing for those other nations that they can. But yeah, I mean, there's so many other contributors throughout the season or for the Broncos in 2025. I mean, obviously Ben Hunt returned. I thought he had a tremendous season, was able to cover multiple positions at hooker, at 5'8", at halfback. Obviously, when they lost Reynolds and Mam, to have someone like Ben Hunt just jump into the halfback position and just steer the team, I thought he was phenomenal over the course of the season. Who else we got there, Victor? We've got Billy Walters as well. I thought he was a shout. I thought he had a great season. I thought, he sort of mixed his season between starting and coming off the bench. And I thought his impact, especially when he came off the bench, his running game was a real feature for the Broncos. Obviously, Pat Carrigan as well. His contribution is, really phenomenal for the Broncos. And then other guys,
I think Xavier Willison is stepping up.
Xavier Willison, I really like the look of Xavier Willison. I think he's going to play a lot more consistent football and only continue to get better and better. He's an absolute beast. And whether Michael Maguire keeps him on the edge or he moves him to the middle, that will be interesting as well. We do have to give a shout to our man Jack Krzyzewski. Obviously, the back end of his season was unfortunately ruined through injury, but obviously started in round 1 in the back row and just re-signed with the Broncos. It'd be great to see him to get back into the team. But then they've got the likes of like unheralded players like Corey Jensen, the front rower who's probably on 1/3 of the money of Payne Haas, maybe even less, but like just super consistent Corey Jensen, and obviously would go on to be a part of a premiership winning team. The Broncos did make a lot of changes with their staff. Obviously, Maguire comes in, and they'd already had, Trent Barrett was there. They had Ben Teo in there. Alfie Langer moved on to a different position. So, a host of changes for the Broncos in 2025 with their coaching staff. And obviously, you think their training ethics and the way that they've trained. Michael Maguire has completely changed the whole culture around that joint. And obviously, the thing with the Broncos as well is like, the expectation is just like so high for the Broncos. For so long, it was just like the Brisbane Broncos. Obviously, you've got in Southeast Queensland now, you've got the Gold Coast Titans, you've got the Dolphins, and they obviously now have their rivalry, and it's great to see. But like the Broncos, playing for the Broncos is like there's expectation there when you put the Broncos jersey. Like that's why they get all the Friday night games at 8 o'clock. That's why their stadium is packed out every single week. Like they've got a lot of eyeballs because they're a powerful club. And we were just talking about it before the show, Victor. Like they're a publicly listed company.
Yeah.
For people who may not know. And you want to talk about actually quickly on the Broncos share price actually, because we had a look at before the podcast.
Before the season, it was like at 90 cents, and then after they won the Prem, it was like $1.50. So that's a pretty good investment for a year.
That's a great investment.
If you invested in the Broncos last season. So
yeah, for people who may be listening and may not know, you can jump on the stocks or look it up if you want to buy some stocks in the Broncos. But like 90 cents at the start of the season, and now the stock is worth $1.50. So
there you go.
Obviously, if you're buying that stock, and see how they go next. Do you think they can go again next year? I mean, where's that stock going to go? But yeah, obviously, when you win and you're successful, there's a lot of eyeballs and a lot of people want to get involved and get around it. And well done to the Broncos. What a phenomenal season! Like it's there's so many good stories. Obviously, Adam Reynolds as well. To be booted out of South Sydney, go up to Brisbane and then deliver a premiership. Like obviously he had an interrupted season with injury, but obviously the leadership that he's able to show week in, week out and in and around training is just phenomenal. You can see those guys absolutely love him and appreciate him, and so well done to him, well done to Maguire and the whole team. I thought it was just great to watch.
How crazy was that finals run?
The finals run was insane, and actually. Actually, we do have wrapping up their season after this. Actually, so just quickly, right? I said earlier, their season wasn't all smooth sailing, and that's like because the season's 27 weeks, right? 24 games, 3 buys in there somewhere, Origin, ups and downs, roller coasters, news stories, things that are happening, players playing well, players not in form, suspensions, injuries, everything. But the Broncos at round 12, they were 8th. They were 8th with 4 wins and 6 losses. And they were getting absolutely hammered by the Courier Mail and the Brisbane Broncos media. The Brisbane media, sorry. Then, by round 20, they were 10 wins and 7 losses. So in that next 7-week period, they went on a run of 6 wins and 1 loss. They got themselves back into the 8, and then they finished strong at the right time of the year, and then that led them to that game in Canberra, which, Victor, you touched on earlier, about their fitness. And that game was absolutely crazy. That was one of the craziest games I've ever seen in my life. Like, in my actual life. Like, the overtime, the golden extra time, and then golden point. And here's where it gets interesting, right? In that game, in the 55th minute, it was 28-12, the Canberra Raiders, leading at home.
And Reece Walsh was in the bin.
Reece Walsh just been sent to the sin bin, right? Reece Walsh comes back. It's 28-12. You're thinking the Raiders are home. It's 28-12. Reece Walsh comes back from the sin bin, and then it's just like the Raiders are playing a little bit within themselves. I remember watching this game, and I remember some of the kicks from Fogarty looked like a little bit nervous. They weren't sort of moving the ball. They were playing a little bit conservative. And then on the other side of the ball, the Broncos were just throwing everything at them. Absolutely everything. Like they had to at that stage of the game. And you spoke about their fitness, Victor. We spoke about how hard their preseason was. And then in that 25-minute period, they were able to come back, even the scores, and then Ben Hunt eventually kicks that field goal after the extra time, golden point, to get them into a prelim. And you just think at that stage, like, I'm watching that game and I'm like, geez, this game, like, in the golden point, I'm like, whoever loses this game is like, your season's over. Like, that's how I thought. I thought there's no way the team that loses this game with the extra minutes and the extra effort and the loss and the devastation, there's no way you'll be able to win next week. And ultimately, I was right. The Raiders went out in straight sets. The Broncos got a week off, and then they just would have thought about, like, recovery. They would have had the next couple of days off, stretching, massage, training, kicking back, relaxing, not having to bash each other, another team and prepare. And that week off is just so, so crucial. So if you can, make the top four, that's why they say it is such an advantage, especially when you can get that week off. They had that week off, and then they played the Panthers in the prelim at Suncorp Stadium. Now, again, they found themselves in a situation where they were behind. They were down 14-0 at halftime. And watching this game, I was like, look, there was a period where the Broncos were just defending for their lives. And there was a run by Nathan Cleary. It may have been on last tackle where he ran the ball, and he didn't pass. And I thought that if he passed, the Panthers would have scored. And then I'm thinking, geez, that almost makes it 20-0. It's almost game over. Excuse me. So 14-0 down at halftime. The Broncos come out, and then at the 47th minute, Stags scores a try. They're back. And then from that moment on, the fitness, the back end of the game, the confidence, the Reece Walsh factor, like everything was just all came to fruition. The home crowd, and it was just meant to be. The Broncos, they were fit, they were confident, and now for me, the challenge for them in 2026, and we will get into our season previews next year, but the challenge for them is to not fall in love with themselves. What do you think I mean by that, Victor?
Obviously, like, don't get complacent,
100%. And like, you said earlier, like, this is a group that may need some tough love, right? For whatever reason that may be. But the thing when you win is like you everyone loves you, right? Everyone loves you. Everyone thinks you're the best. Everyone follows you on social media. Everyone wants to hear what you say. Everyone wants to get around you. And then, if you get comfortable with that lifestyle, it's like you get a bit complacent. You may not train as hard. You may not do those extras. You're not as hungry because you've done it. And that to me is what it was ultra and so impressive about the Panthers run, is just to do it 4 years in a row is just absolutely phenomenal. So I think the Broncos can go back to back. I definitely think they can. They've got the exact same squad pretty much without Tyson Smoothy and without Kobe Hetherington, who played roles off the bench for them, which they will fill. But I think the challenge for them is just not fall in love with themselves. And we will see what happens.
That's a good way to wrap it up.
That's a great way to wrap it up. So well done to the Broncos. And let's move on. What do we got next, Victor?
Keon Kaloa-Matangi flies a helicopter down to Wynn Stadium to meet with the Dragons.
Well, I'm seeing the socials yesterday and reading the news and whatever, and I see the Dragons pulling out the big stops to secure some signatures and get some big fish. And they have been criticised, the Dragons about not being able to sign a big marquee player. And Kaloa Matangi, it sounds like he's not getting the offer he wants from South Sydney. There's been talk about him going to Parramatta, and obviously now the St. George Illawarra Dragons. And look, I absolutely love this from Shane. If this is Shane Flanagan or whoever it is at the Dragons pulling out the chopper and trying to get a signing down there, that's what you want to do. That is awesome. Like, I know, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I know the effort that the Dragons went to sign Valentine Holmes. Like, they made an absolute effort to go. Like, Flano flew to Townsville. Let's say it. Flano went to Townsville, sat down with Val and his wife in their house and spoke to him and pushed the dream of playing for the Dragons. Like, you want effort. And to get Kaloa Matangi to just not having to drive down, mate, just come for a 20-minute chopper ride down there. We'll drop you off. You show everything. This is our new facility we're building, which will be done this year. This is where we see you playing. Like, that's you want to feel like appreciated, and that's why he doesn't. I don't think he feels that way from South Sydney at the moment, even though he's played there his whole career. But look, I absolutely love to see it. I think it's a well done to the Dragons, and this is the effort that the Dragons are going to try and secure these big players. So I say good on them. He's Kaloa Matangi, obviously off contract at the end of 2026. He's 26 years old, highly regarded as one of the game's premier forwards, and would absolutely become one of the Dragons' most influential players if he was to be able to be signed. Obviously, Kaloa Matangi's played predominantly on the edge, but moved this season to the front row. I really think he stays in the front row for the rest of his career. I think he's going to do his best work in the middle with the 8 or 10 and just be the enforcer. So look, I absolutely love to see it from the Dragons. Well done to putting that effort in, and for their sake, I hope it all works out. I really do hope it works out.
I feel like the Dragons need a big boy in that forward pack.
Yeah, they need a dominant, like
they need a name.
They need a leader. And he's that guy. He can be that guy for sure.
Let's
go. What do we got next?
Next up, West Tigers. I swear there's more news about the West Tigers board or just like shit going around the Tigers that's not the team.
Yeah, I mean,
Always.
Look, this club, man, it's just like far out. I don't even know what to say. I'm just trying to be very careful about what I say here because, like, this is a club that's had a history of failure for such a long time. And when all this stuff's happened over the past week, I actually, feel really sorry for, Benji Marshall and the coaching staff, like John Morris and Chris Huntington. I feel sorry for these guys that they have to deal with, people at board level who just have no idea, or at club level who are running things. And it's just the in-house fighting or the in-house arguing on power, and whether it's the Wests or whether it's the Tiger side, and people complaining that there's not enough West in the jersey and there's not enough this colour and not enough Magpie. And now we want to get the Magpies back in the NRL. And if I'm Benji Marshall, I'm just sitting back going come, guys, are we actually for real? Him and the staff would be out there trying to coach the group, trying to do their absolute best. And obviously this is a side that's won, before this year, won a host of I think it's 3 or 4 wooden spoons in a row. Haven't played finals since 2011, right? But made improvement this year. They made improvement this year on the previous year, all right? And now this stuff happens, man.
Do you think there's just some egos in that boardroom?
It sounds like it.
That love hearing their name in the media.
Oh, mate, it absolutely sounds like it. There's a lot of ego. At the end of the day, you got to drop the ego.
You're not supposed to be the face of that football club.
Let the players be the face. And for so long, obviously there's news around, Shane Richardson, and now he's contracted. He's negotiated for himself and the clauses around his potential release. And then obviously Tony Mestrov, the ex-Manly CEO, looks like he might replace him. And then for a long time, there was a lot of criticism for Jerome Luai around some of the clauses he put in his contract. Then there was people like Shane Richardson trying to negotiate with him to try and take out the clauses because they wanted him to commit long-term without those clauses. And now it's like, man, how can you sort of like actually blame Jerome Luai for having these clauses in there? Like, it's to protect himself. And at the end of the day, it's like good negotiation from him and his agent to protect him. Like, he's obviously come across to the Tigers for the money, right? But also wants to sort of change and contribute to the club and change the club. But if I'm Jerome Luai, I'm having a really good look at my clauses and my options, and just kind of keeping one eye on what happens there at the board level, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be involved with the rugby league club that has in-house fighting for power. Every time something happens at the West Tigers, it gets out. There's leaks absolutely everywhere. And the things with the best clubs, the Roosters, Melbourne Storm, is that you never, ever hear anything get leaked. You never hear about anything that happens from the big clubs, the good clubs, because they are so well run. Their people are so connected, and it just doesn't get out to the media. But a club like the West Tigers, and this is again, while I do feel sorry for Benji Marshall and the coaching staff and the football staff and everything, because a lot of the times it doesn't really involve them. It involves guys who are running the club and that people may not really know. And I think Shane Richardson's done a pretty good job since he's been in there. He's made a couple of big changes, but at ownership level and board level, then they've got they're complaining about, the amount of people who are from which side on the board, and they've got independents and they've sacked people on the board and all this and that to try and change the power. And I don't know, man. It just absolutely does my head in. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to play for that team.
I think it's a shame because they've made such efforts to create the squad they've got. And
yeah, that's what I mean. They've made a heap of changes.
Unreal squad now.
And they've improved from Benji's tenure.
So,
they
just need to clean it up on the board level.
Man.
Oh gosh.
Absolutely crazy. All right, let's move on. What do we got next?
Tom Dearden's Bronco time.
Tommy Dearden, mate. If you didn't see it, head over to the Cowboys Instagram page and have a look at the finish to Tommy Dearden's Bronco. So for people who may not know, Bronco, start on the try line. This is the fitness test that pretty much every team runs. Start on the try line, run out to the 20, run back to the try line, run out to the 40, back to the try line, run out to the 60, back to the try line. Do that 5 times. It totals 1.2 kilometers. And basically time yourself and see how far you go. So obviously the turns are designed to basically build up the lactic in your legs. Tom Dearden, so let me just sort of explain this actually. This was his first day back at training, and previously Tom had the record. I think it might have been like 4:25, and Cowboys youngster, Tom Chester, who's an absolute fitness freak as well, he comes in and he beats Tommy Dearden's record. I think he gets like 4:23, I think it was, or 4:22, whatever it is. Beats Tommy's record. Now it's a new record. Tom Chester's got the record. Tom Dearden's probably in his off season. Probably hasn't ran at all. He's probably been drinking beers and watching horses and loving sport, loving life. But Tommy, I'll tell you what, man, he would have been training, but he's one of the most mentally toughest guys I've ever seen in my life. And he would have heard that Chester broke his record and just would have been like, no, I'm getting my record back. Get my record back. Tommy comes in, the big dog, first day, comes in, runs a 4:18. Runs a 4:18 Bronco. That's the quickest time I've ever heard of in the NRL. Quickest time I've ever heard of in the NRL. Absolutely insane. So do yourself a favor. Head over to the Cowboys Instagram page. Have a watch. He's a freaky man, Tommy Dearden. He's a freaky man. He's had an absolutely amazing season. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him go again next year.
Yeah.
What do we got next, Victor?
6 again. Presented by BearBet. First question. What separated the great players you played with from the rest?
I think the great players, just for me, just own the moments. I think there's times in games where you need a big play from a big player. And a lot of the time, those big moments you would gear towards your best players. You would try and get your best player the ball, or you would try and get your best player in a situation where he could do his work. And then once you got that situation, that big player then executed. So I think that just the big moments in the games where and then you see like guys come in and they give a big hug and, whatever it is to that player. So just great players own the big moments for me.
Toughest team you've ever faced?
Toughest team I ever faced, I think the Melbourne Storm. Like, the Melbourne Storm when they had Cronk, Smith and Slater, like, we played a pretty good Melbourne Storm in the grand final in 2016. Billy Slater wasn't playing, but Cameron Munster was fullback. Cronk, Smith, like Jesse Bromwich. Like, to me, when those guys were all playing together, like, they were always thinking ahead. They were just so tuned in with their game and their combination, and it's just years of playing together. And some of the things that I used to love to work with, my halves partners were like, you see the same thing, you do the same thing. You don't necessarily you just see the situation, you've trained on it, you've worked on it, you just know what needs to be done. You don't even need to say anything. And those guys just had that stuff in absolute spades for sure, and they could just beat you down if you didn't turn up. Yep.
Love it. Who has the smartest footy brain?
There's a lot of smart footy brains out there. A lot of halves. There's obviously a lot of halves. You sort of expected to watch a bit more footy and understand a little bit more. Like, there's some guys who are the big footy IQs that I played with. I mean, Sean Johnson had a great footy IQ. Matt Moylan had a great footy IQ. Scott Drinkwater had a great footy IQ. Who else is there? Sam Walker, I really enjoyed talking to Sam and hearing his philosophies on football. So there's a couple players, I really feel like probably those guys were the difference. The guys that I play with. All right, next question, Victor.
Which roommate would you never want to room with again?
Oh man, I've said this multiple times. You may have heard me answer this question, but for me, like, James Maloney, the worst roomie I've ever had, and. Well, I got to a point where I had to ask our manager if he could change me. Just not very hygienic, Jimmy. Didn't want to brush his teeth. Didn't shower. Didn't change his undies. Yeah, just like snored. So this is what he used to do, right? He used to snore and he used to sleep on his back. So you know how Jimmy talks. That's how he talks. And then like he'd be laying on his back asleep, obviously just snoring his head off, like mouth wide open. And then I'd wake up, it's night before a game. I'm like Jimmy, like, go to sleep. And like he'd still be there. Then I'd get the pillow. I'd get with hotel, like you get your sleeping pillows, then you get like the decor pillows. I'd get it. I'd just reach over and just smack him in the face. And because it's pitch black, I'd smack him in the face, and then I'd just like lay back down. And then he'd roll over. So he'd just cop a whack to the face. It'd be quiet. I wouldn't say anything. And then he would just roll over, man. Yeah. Good times, but no thank you, Jimmy.
No stop. How much does travel, short turnarounds, or weather actually affect performance?
Geez, good question. Travel, you can use travel as a positive because you get to spend so much more time with your teammates, going for coffees, playing cards, staying in a hotel, having a good night's sleep, away from family. Like, don't get me wrong, we love obviously being at home, but there's a difference between having a night's sleep at home around family and a night's sleep in a hotel, unless you're rooming with James Maloney. Obviously, the short turnarounds, you don't do as much training. You're more focused on recovery. And weather probably affects your ability to pass and move the ball, where you've probably got to play within yourself a bit more and kick early a bit more for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Do you think the game is tougher or softer now?
I think the game was crazy tough back in the day. You look at some of the vision, like crazy tough. But it's hard to sort of compare the difference between calling it soft. I wouldn't call the game soft now. What I would say is like the demands of the game are greater than they've ever been. In terms of tougher, I don't know if like it's as physical maybe as it was back in the day. I mean, nowadays the physicality's taken out a little bit with regards to this because of the speed. But back then the game was much slower and much more physical. But then again, like the game is still very physical now. So I don't want to sit on the fence, but it's also like I'm not one of those guys that says like, oh, back in my day, you know what I mean? There's this and that and whatever it may be. Yep. So you kind of respect both eras. Yeah.
For sure.
Let's go fan questions. What do we got?
Hey, Chad, if you had your time again, would you rather be a one-club player or did you like the fact you got to experience a few different clubs?
No, definitely. I'm very happy that I got to experience different clubs because at the end of the day, I changed clubs on my own decisions. Like I never got told to move on. I wanted to leave and I left for what I thought was better for my career. And also that I got to experience different places. Like ultimately it would have been great for me to stay at Cronulla my whole career, but I made decisions that allowed me to grow and experience other things, not only as a person, but as a player. And I definitely wouldn't change any of that.
Yeah, love it. What do you do for Origin games each year? Like where do you watch them and who with?
I just watch the game at home, to be honest. I've got a theatre room at my house and I've got an 85-inch TV and I sit in there, usually with some ice cream, and I just watch it with my wife at home. Then I watch the game. As soon as the game's over, I just go to bed. Do nothing crazy, but maybe different now that I'm out and not playing anymore. I mean, I wouldn't, we might do some streams or something like that in the future. We'll see. Yeah.
Hey, Chad, from your time at the Cowboys, what is and why are they going so poor? We have such a strong roster, but second worst defense by a long way, making it tough to win. Is the issues with the coaching or do some players not get along, etc.?
I think ultimately some of their defensive systems played a part for them. Obviously with their edges this year, 2025, they were extremely poor on the defense, second worst defensive side in the competition. So I think they will change that system with regards to their defense. Their talent is just phenomenal. I mean, they've got some of the best talent in the competition, but I also think just some of their edge defense really needs to improve. And I think that's the big thing. This is a team that's very well connected. They're a very well connected team on a teammate level. Like they're very close friends. In Townsville, it's just such a small area. Like you don't really have other people outside of football. It's like your football friends are your friends with whatever you're doing. So they're very well connected, very close group. But I just think their defense system I assume it's changed because Todd's made a heap of changes with his assistant coaches, and that'll be one of the things that I will be watching, and I'm sure everyone will be watching for, next season.
Yep, love it. What were the army boot camps you did with the Cowboys like?
Not too crazy, to be honest. Like we did this one in Tully, which was like it was like one hard physical drill to 3 kind of mental drills, but it was like a 24-hour camp where you're awake for 24 hours. So you're awake for a long time and your concentration was challenged. And that was probably the big thing. The conditions were tough. Was in Tully, it's like extremely humid and sweaty and there's leeches around and but the hardest one I did was in the Warriors, and I won't speak about that today, but I'll speak about that maybe next week or another time. Yeah,
love it. Couple more. Do you miss rugby league yet?
No, I don't miss rugby league at all. I'm very, very happy with what I'm doing at the moment. Absolutely love the schedule that I've got together. I'm very happy that I'm not back at preseason training. I couldn't do another preseason. Like it's just I'm over it. 18 preseasons at NRL level. My body's like I got through my body's in great condition. But in saying that, my body's also had enough of that. Like I don't want to do that anymore. I still like we're in here nice and early this morning, recording our podcast. I got up this morning at 5, ran 5K. Just still ticking along, but like the demands of preseason and the tackling and all that, I'm not interested in doing that anymore.
Yep, love it. How do you deal with nerves before a game?
Do you know what? There's nerves, there's anxiety, a little bit of anxiety, but at the end of the day, it's like I've trained my whole life for this moment. So I'm not actually that nervous. So as weird as that may, even the biggest games I ever played, it's like I've trained my whole life for this moment since I've been 5, 6 years old. I've had a football in my hand. So it's like if you're a SAS, you're an Army SEAL, right? And you train every part of your life for battle, and then you get to battle and you've done years and years of training for that moment, like you're ready. And that's kind of like how I felt. It's like I was ready for those moments. Like I wasn't nervous because it just comes natural. It came natural to me to play football. Yep.
Last one. What are the benefits of participating in the Club World Challenge, the World Club Challenge, besides winning a trophy?
Well, money as well. You get a handy, I'm pretty sure, prize money. I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but obviously the title of being World Club Champion is a pretty cool title. I mean, how many times can you actually have the chance to do that? So I absolutely love it. I think it's a great idea, and it will be a great game. Hull KR have had a tremendous season. They won the treble. They won the minor premiership. They won the whatever it's called. They won the Super League, and they won the Club Challenge. No, the one, I'm not sure exactly what it's called. I've had a full mind. They won the last one where they Challenge Cup. That's it. The Challenge Cup. They won the minor premiership, the Challenge Cup, and the Super League. So they'll be up for a big game against the Broncos for sure. Yeah.
Good game. That's it.
Sweet. All right. Thank you, Victor. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Really appreciate it. If you enjoy the podcast and the channel, please make sure you do like and subscribe this video. And if you're listening over on the audio platforms, a quick rate and review would be greatly appreciated. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Let's go, baby. Yeah.